June 13th, it just might be one of the best days of my life, man.
Wow. That's beautiful, Steve. I love it. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah.
Happened in the 90s.
Look at JR. He's surprised.
Macho and Bobby. This is, I think, the last time that you would see this trio together, man. Like, you got Macho, you got Jim Ross just coming in from WCW. And then Bobby, man, he's on his way out to go to WCW.
God, dude. And we also get Jerry the King at one point. There's like a crossing of everybody here.
Exactly, man. So it's kind of like the changing of the guards in a way, man. You know, you got the Immortal One, and unbeknownst to me at the time, this was his last WWF event before he would go to the opponent, to the Ops, dude. Like, and he wouldn't come back until 2002.
Damn, it was that early in the 90s he jumped ship.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's crazy. I mean, dude, what a shift. They've been having, I don't know if it's just coming up because we've been talking about it, but a lot of stuff about Eric Bischoff and like Hogan, like little mini documentaries on YouTube I've been watching. Yeah, dude. You didn't realize how momentous that was at the time, but they literally created a juggernaut company. Basically, that was the move. You know, they got some other people. I mean, it was a good organization, but once that happened, they literally equaled out, which is insane. That'd be like if one of these shitty like B League NFL football leagues became like as good as the NFL. It just won't ever happen.
Like if the XFL picked up Barry Sanders and like Randy Moss and shit. I mean, they kind of did that in the 80s, man, because wasn't Reggie White a part of that? Was it the AFL or something, whatever, the USFL?
Well, I mean, that was initially what happened. Like, there was the NFL, and then there was that, and then that's what the Super Bowl was, wasn't it? It was like those two leagues going against each other, I believe, at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know the full history.
I mean, the Steelers, coming from the Steel Town, we used a fucking XFL champion as a quarterback for a couple turnover Tommy Maddox.
I forget about that, dude.
I mean, he sucked, but he did okay. I mean, he didn't like come into the NFL and just get crunched, you know, like you would assume somebody from the XFL would. There's a couple of those people that sort of... Like, didn't that He Hate Me guy, wasn't he one of those people that went to the NFL?
Yeah, he ended up going to the Panthers for a minute.
Yeah, so, you know, it can happen, but as far as going back to the wrestling part of it, it is wild to see that, because, I mean, the one I watched, they showed some of, like, the early WCW stuff, and they had stars. They had Sting, they had the Ric Flairs and stuff, but like they still didn't stack any numbers like the WWF was. And at some point, there's having Hulkster, they're all just mixed, dude. And NWO, all that.
Yeah, and in this event, man, in King of the Ring, they had Diesel, they had Shawn. You had these future stars. You had a young Scott Hall or younger Scott Hall. But Randy was still there in attendance. You still had Bobby. You still had Hogan.
Yeah, this was like I said. This was for all stars. Even the ones that I don't even really like, still huge names. Bam Bam Bigelow, Yokozuna. The only person I couldn't recall was Mr. Hughes.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't remember him, but. That's crazy, you guys. Because I went to a live one. I think it was a Raw taping, or it might not even been that. It was some sort of like. It might have just been one of those like dark match events in Toledo when WWF came.
Yeah.
And honestly, dude, I don't remember anybody that was actually on it. It wasn't even like that like memorable. And I saw WCW once too. I do remember seeing Juventud Guerrero without his mask on, but. That was pretty cool.
This is at the Seagate?
Yeah, was it, or was it at the Toledo Storm Arena? It was probably at the Seagate. I don't know. It's been a long time, Steve. A lot of joints.
Yeah, I mean, June 13th, it just might be one of the best days of my life, man.
Wow. That's beautiful, Steve. I love it. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see one of my heroes, bro. I mean, he went out in a not so great way, but like I'm in the same building with him.
It is electrifying. Even like as an adult, we talked about this, but me and Kendra got some like really choice tickets to go see a SmackDown taping whenever they got put on Fox for the first time. So everyone was there. Every legend, Hulk Hogan was there. The Rock was there. They only came out and just like waved basically, but it is crazy when you see that. And there's something about like going to sporting events live can be disappointing, like in a lot of ways. But I feel like when I went to wrestling, it is always just cool to see it like live because you see like the explosions and you get to hear it and like hear what it's really like. It's different. I don't know if it's necessarily better, but I can definitely get being a little kid and seeing fucking Hulk Hogan coming out. Like, did you just lose your shit?
Dude, all of my shit. I lost everything I had in me, man. And then, as a kid, you only have so much energy in you. So, like, there were some sleepers, clearly. And I'm sure you could guess which sleepers, like, I took a little siesta on.
Honestly, though, all the matches, the names might not all be great, but like most of them weren't terrible. Like I've seen a lot worse, dude. We definitely sifted through a lot more trash than this. So at least you got a nice, tasty treat as a little kid. That was nice.
Oh man, thank you, government, because it was. This is my first time learning what a W-2 was. But I knew that it was coming in town. I watched Raw faithfully, and I was like, "Oh, we'll be out of school. Oh, my cousin's gonna be in town, staying with us for a minute. Hey, Mom, it's in Dayton, and this is when we lived in Columbus, and it's only about an hour or so away from Columbus.
Yeah, it ain't that much. It ain't a huge trek."
And my mom just kept saying, "As soon as I get my W-2s, baby, as soon as I get my W-2s," I was like, W-2. I'm 9.
Yeah, right. That whatever that is means I get to go to wrestling. Yeah, that's what W-2, dude. Wrestling too. That's what it's good for, Steve.
I'm grateful for that IRS, but that's where it stops. Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Patrick Waugh jerseys and your New Jersey Drive, because it's like rain on your wedding day.
You love Alanis, dude.
I love Canadians.
Yeah, Who knew, Steve? Saucy Canadians. We know a couple, but I don't know if they're on the Alanis level,
Speaking of saucy Canadians, just a little quick insider. Joey Gladstone, played by Dave Coulier, famous Canadian, his last name, he selected that as a stoner inside joke. So
how is that a stoner inside joke?
Joey Gladstone?
So it's just it's not like alluding to some name in a movie or some stoner mythology. It's just like glad he's stoned.
I don't know. I just read the article yesterday.
Steve, come on, man. You got to just like figure it out. You got to think of the logic behind it. But I love that. I really honestly didn't peg Dave Coulier as a stoner, but that's fucking cool. I love that.
And he is Canadian, and they're cool. But today, my friend, we're talking all things 613 in the 90s, brother. Starting off in 1991, Straight Outta Brooklyn premieres. A young man living in poverty makes a plan to rob a drug dealer and change the life of his family. Directed by Matty Rich, starring George T. Odom, Andy Sanders, and Lawrence Gilliard Jr. It's kind of like, Ma, can we go watch Juice? We got Juice at home. The Juice at home.
It's got D'Angelo Barksdale from The Wire in it. I know he's in it. Very young.
And Bobby Boucher's homeboy as well. And
oh yeah, he was in Waterboy. I forgot about that. Hell yeah.
Before Wikipedia or just internet existed, I used to think he was the kid from Cop and a Half. But it's like, no.
That's awesome.
He was a grown man at the time, so that can't be him.
That'd be a better mythology, though. Like, that kid grew up and just was in thug-ass movies for the rest of his career. I love that.
And he was in Oz. But, yeah, man, it's available.
This movie looks interesting, though. I got to be honest. I did not see this, and I have not seen it. But I watched the preview and watched a couple of videos like about it on YouTube. The actual like video, like the quality of the visuals, it has like almost like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre feel. It's very like low budget looking. But it's a story, like you said. I mean, you've seen Juice, you've seen this a few times. It looks pretty fucking intense, though. Looks pretty cool.
And as a standalone, it was decent, man. They have it on YouTube, and it's an independent film, as you would imagine. But the cool thing about this, though, Matty Rich, he went to a local radio station in Brooklyn asking for pledges, and then about 50 people showed up, and he raised about $77,000 in the space of 20 minutes.
You fucking crowdsourced this before that was even a thing. That's pretty awesome. I did not know that. That's even more respect on that.
And it got some props. It actually got special jury prize at the 91 Sundance Film Festival, so there's that too.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, this is an independent film, and this was at that time where this was the thing. Make a low budget, get some notoriety. It's very cool that that's how he sourced the money to make it. It's crazy he made $70,000 that quickly.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear the sales pitch.
In 20 minutes. I can't even make that in a damn year.
Shit. No, I mean, God, good luck. But I'd love to hear. I wonder if there's like, you said he went to a radio station and did this. So I wonder if there's audio of that, like, that you can listen to. Because, damn, let me figure out how to copy and paste that sales pitch.
Exactly, man. But, you know who probably didn't watch this in 1991, huh?
Who's that, Steve?
Some spectator who was killed by lightning at a U.S. Open golf tournament. June 13, 1991. A 27-year-old spectator standing under a tree at the Hazeltine National Golf Course in Chaska, Minnesota, was hit by lightning and died during the first round of the U.S. Open.
I remember this vaguely being like a big thing for a few days on like ESPN. They would show like some like video from it, but I mean, when a thunderstorm's coming, you got to get inside, guys. So under a tree is not sufficient.
Yeah.
You know, but that's fucking crazy. That would suck, man. Going to see golf of all things and you end up dead. That's crazy.
Yeah, and ironically, when I watch golf, man, I die on the inside. But 1993...
That's fucked up, Steve.
It's facts. 1993, Doug is airing Season 3, Episode 9, Doug's Hot Property, and Doug the Little Liar. Doug finds the rare first issue of Man of Steel Man, but he soon feels guilty about having the only copy. And then, Skeeter falls for a new girl who claims to be from a wealthy background, but Doug wonders if she's telling the truth.
I forgot about this as kind of a Doug thing where it was almost like Ren and Stimpy where it was split up into different stories. I forgot they did that. That's pretty cool.
And we start this off, Doug's trying to bargain with the comic book store owner. He's a big fan of Man of Steel Man, which is a spoof of Superman, of course. And he's got the first 5 issues of Lumpy Squad.
He's haggling with Sully, the old comic book guy, and he's like, look, I'll give you these 5 things. I'll give you this. I'll throw in Lumpy Squad. And finally, Sully's like, all right, you're crazy. I'll take all this. I'll bilk you for that. Great salesman. He probably made a bunch of money off that. He gives Doug this one issue that he's wanted because it's going to sort of help complete this collection of Man of Steel Man, this comic book series he loves. But then Sully, to ultra flex on Doug's like, oh, you got that. That's all good and fine, but I got an issue number 1, Cherry, in the bag right here. And Doug creams his jeans. Sully brings it out, even lets him touch it for a minute.
Pause.
Which, as somebody who, that sounds really bad. That's fucked up. But as somebody who collected comics in the 90s, if you got a Cherry issue like that, you're not pulling it out and letting people put their little greasy sausage fingers all over it. So, Sully, it's a business mistake. I just want to point that out.
Especially for a kid, man. The little pee-pee hands. And he'd give anything to have this, but Sully tells him this is not for sale. This is just for show.
Now give me that shit back before you fuck it up with your nasty yuck mouth, Doug. Skeeter. I don't even know why. Is that a nickname? Let me have this. But then we go to this arcade that Doug and Skeeter hang out at. And Doug's just sort of lamenting the fact that, you know, he'll never have issue number 1, Steve. There's 75 in rotation. Old man Sully's got one of them, and he's just never going to have enough money, you know? He doesn't think so.
Now, is it issue number 1? I thought it was issue number 1, or is it 45?
He got issue 45 by giving Sully all like his Fugazi comics, but issue number 1, that's something a whole different thing, Steve. That's a whole different tax bracket. So now he's got a scheme. Now he's got to figure it out. But as he's like kind of talking about this with Skeeter, this like almost drug dealer-esque like shady guy comes up. He's like, "Hey guys, you guys talking about comics? You want comics? I got a trunk full of comics out back. Come over here." And Doug, which easily molestable kid, obviously, you tell this kid you got a trunk of comics, he's right behind you. So cut to the car. Doug's looking at all these, this guy's comic book collection. That's just a bunch of loose comic books in a trunk, Steve.
From the black market.
Yeah. And he's rifling through. He's like, there's no way that this guy has Man of Steel Man issue number 1 Cherry. There's no way. Starts rifling through. He's right. It's right there, and it's in the case, Steve. And this is where I love Doug and his savviness, because now he sees that this is an opportunity, right? But he's got Skeeter, the cock block, next to him, keeps pointing out little things. So he's like, oh, yeah, maybe this one's pretty cool. And the shady guys talk it over, and they're like, we think this one actually might be worth a little bit more because of such and such. And Doug's like, yeah, but I think like the corner's a little rough over here. And Skeeter's like, no, it's not. And he's like, shut the fuck up. He does a couple of those where he's trying to talk these guys into like paying way less for this. And he does, Steve, even though Skeeter, again, is trying to fuck it up the whole time.
Like, dude, that's the most valuable one. Like, that's super rich. Skeeter, fucking green.
He's talking about something over there. Okay, I'll give you $5 for it. He pays for this comic, gets it. It's cherry, Steve. It's in the bag. The baggie, the little thing with the cardboard back. That's when you knew, Steve. And as a former comic book collector, if you got that level of thing, you got something on your hands. It's a piece of art, and I respect it.
And now, in one of Doug's dream sequences, he gets to visit his heroes, Man of Man Steel, and his homies, and he basically becomes one of them.
He's comic collector boy. I'd be like, can you guys think of a better name, please? He's Quail Man. Like, why couldn't he just be Quail Man? You know what I'm saying? Just turn him into that.
Yeah, on some multiverse.
You know. He's living his dream, Steve. He's got this comic. And the next day, he's like, you know what? Now I'm going to flex on Sully. Because fuck him. He had to bring this thing out. He got in my head. I'm going to get in his head. He shows up with Skeeter, looks in. It's closed, Steve. Sully's is closed.
Shut down.
Why?
Yeah.
Why, Steve? What happened?
Well, they see in the newspaper that the very issue that he just caught, it was stolen. And now he's thinking, like, I hope they don't think it was me. I hope it's not me. I hope I don't have a hot issue.
Seems a little weird, though. A bit of a coincidence. I get these weird, shady dealer guys giving me this. Sully's gets because it's ransacked, Steve. Those comics in that trunk, that were Sully's full collection. So now Doug's got to sort of figure this out in his head. He's trying to talk himself out of it. And they're like, well, where are we going to go? We got to see if we can find these guys, don't they? Like, they're like, we're going to try to catch these guys because they have kind of an idea of what they look like. Leather jackets, sunglasses, hats, shady. Let's go to the mall. And they figure out that basically the whole mall is filled with these shady weirdos, Steve. Maybe this is a mall filled with child molesters. I don't know. It's a weird vibe.
Roger Klotz set him up. And now Doug, he goes to his dad and he throws him like a hypothetical. And it's like, you know what if a kid has something that he got legit, fair and square, but like he found out that it was I don't even think he fully came out with the question, because his dad's just telling him like, well, if it's fair and square, then it's fair and square. All right, fair and square.
Sounds good. So we're good here. So I'm good to keep that. His dad's like, wait, what? He's like, never mind. You said fair and square. It's like Jeopardy. First answer. Bye. So now he thinks it's cool. But as they sort of work through this, now the guilt starts working in Steve, because Doug's a nice guy. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
You know?
But
so he thinks about telling Sully.
Until he gets to Sully's. Yeah. He gets to Sully's, and it's completely different tone, man. Because now Sully has a sign in front of his door that says, only one kid at a time. And there's a line wrapped around the building. And he makes it in, and Sully, he's a different person. He's like, oh, if you're not buying anything, get the hell out of my store.
Hurry up and buy.
Hurry up and buy, yeah. I feel so sorry for your mother.
And so, yeah, I mean, he chickens out. But Sully's, I mean, let's be honest. It's on account of the robberies. I get he's a little, obviously, he's a little hurt. He's just been giving these kids a little hangout. Now they fucked him over. So Doug chickens out. And then, you know, now he has to, he's in it, Steve. He's in his feelings. So we go to a nightmare that Doug's having where basically comic collector boy is sitting here and all of his heroes are just dissolving like Back to the Future photos because he's a thief. I don't remember exactly what the story explanation is, but he's been doing some dirt, Steve, and they don't appreciate, they can't, they're like Tinkerbell. If you're not doing good,
I want to do it because it's fun. It's fun to do bad things.
If there are no comic books, they don't exist. And he says, we don't have a pass, and we'll slowly be gone. So you can start seeing them like disintegrate into nothingness.
So Doug comes out of this, and he can no longer contain this guilt. So he goes back to Sully's. He shows him the issue and is like, is this yours? And he basically apologizes, and immediately, Steve, Sully, the frown goes right upside down. He's got his issue back. And he's like, look, I was kind of being a dick. So the whole one kid thing, we're good. And I'm going to throw all these kids in here, all these little fucks. Y'all get one issue of the Lumpy Squad free of charge on Sully.
And King Cracky. Yeah. I think that was one of the comic book titles, King Cracky.
I'd love to see that. What's that story about?
Yeah, that could be really cool or really morose. So, like, that's the lesson learned for that, man. You know, honesty is the best policy. And
sometimes you come on a deal, Steve. You know, somebody's selling something out of the back of a truck. It's like, I got $200 for those speakers. As long as there's something in that box, I might have to take you guys up on it.
Hey, man. Why the Jumpman logo got a big ass?
Why is misspelled like that? But yeah, so, you know, Doug, lesson learned. Don't take hot goods. Yeah. You know, you never know what's going to happen because of that. You almost destroyed an old man's life. So, congrats.
Ain't no why in Nike. And the next excerpt is Doug and the Little Liar. There's a new girl in school, and Doug and Skeeter introduce themselves, or at least Doug does. And, you know, he strikes up a conversation, and the whole time Skeeter is just comatose, out of there. We find out her name is Loretta, and she's from, was it Yakostonia?
Yep. She speaks Yakostonian, Steve, and she does not hesitant to tell you that she can. She's bilingual. She's related to some lady named Marlene LaFlame, which I believe is her aunt.
Yeah. Famous actress.
Very exotic, very successful. But there's a lot of just, big words coming out, Steve. This is a new girl. And, Doug's really, she's pretty. He's not that into her. He's already got Patty Mayonnaise, you know what I'm saying? Like, he already knows the real deal. But Skeeter, to be honest with you, fully erect, Steve. And when I say that, his whole body went erect, not even just downstairs. So he was fully into this chick.
And he doesn't snap out of it until Loretta leaves. And, once he comes to, he's like, Loretta,
Don't touch me.
Like, isn't she? Like, well, you just met her.
Yeah, dude. But, as Skeeter leaves, Doug's sitting there, and this is like kind of hilarious. This is indicative of like when new friends come and stuff. Like Doug talks to this other guy who I don't remember being in the show, but his name's Fentruck. He's like a fellow nerd. And he's like, yeah, it's crazy that Loretta chick, she can't speak Yakistonian at all. She can say a couple of things, but I speak Yakistonian, and that bitch ain't speaking Yakistonian. So now Doug's like, what the fuck? What's going on here? Is this a whole honeypot sitch?
Yeah, what's going on? So another dream sequence of Doug where he's a PI. He's a private investigator, and he's basically grilling Loretta on her credentials.
You don't speak Yakistonian, see? And Loretta's using her feminine wiles to get out of it. She's like, maybe I don't, but I do speak. I don't even know. I don't want to go. We're live streaming, Steve. I'm scared to go too blue, but she gets out of it in this dream. She's like, you know what? I gotta go. I'm too pretty to be here. So after the dream, we cut Doug, Skeeter. They're walking with Loretta. And you can see as Loretta's telling another tall tale of some like mountain villa that her family has or some crazy like rich shit. Doug's like, man, shut up. Like in the background. Shut up, bitch. Lioness. And to make matters worse, he's already like sort of like looking at her sideways, but then she's like, oh, let's go to a movie. Her idea. They get to the movie. Oh, I forgot my wallet. Hey, Skeeter, will you pay for me? You're so cool and handsome and awesome. Can you just pay me? And you can just see that Doug's like, bitch.
And my friend is a simp because
what's Yakistonian for a bitch?
And then we have another dream sequence where they're out skiing, and Loretta, she goes to Skeeter like, I don't have any money left. Hey, Skeeter, can you cover me? He's like, well, I just took you to the movies and a restaurant.
I'm broke.
Yeah, I'm tight. Well, I guess I'll have to go skiing with someone else then. And to think, I was going to name one of these mountains after you. Huh?
Well, maybe if I get another job and then I take out a loan and I take some of my 401k out, we can go see Triple X2 with Ice Cube.
I can take out of my savings, no problem. It's Skeeter, you are so simping. Usually I think you're the cooler one in the episodes, but man, damn.
She already got to the wallet, Steve. So come out of the dream. Doug, he's lost, man. What do you do in this situation? So he goes and hangs out with Mr. Dink. Mr. Dink's got this real questionable situation where he's got some sort of techno shed that's in the front of his house, but Doug and him hang out in there. I wouldn't be comfortable if I was Doug's like father being like, you're hanging out with this old man in a shed? What's going on here, Mr. Dink? And he also always has weird gadgets, Steve. And some of them may or may not be sexual, but hey, Douglas, have you ever had a dildo stuck inside you? I mean, it's real bizarre.
Yeah, he's a weirdo. But this time, the invention is a truthometer. And this is relevant to Doug because he's trying to get to the bottom of, like, man, what's up with this new Loretta girl? I feel like she's full of cap. And he throws another hypothetical, this time to Mr. Dink. It's like, what if I have a friend and he's, like, I think Mr. Ding just cuts him off. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I lied. I wasn't the captain of the football team."
Yeah, because it keeps every time he says something now, the lie detector goes off. Clearly, it works. So Mr. Ding gets caught in a whole bunch of lies, starts crying, admits to a bunch of really questionable stuff off camera that we only see the aftermath of. Really dark shit. But he helps Doug out. Doug's kind of put on a path. He has access to a lie detector now, so if he really wants to grill this bitch, he has assets to a shed and a lie detector machine. But we're not there yet, Steve.
I'll get you, bitch.
He's got to go hang out with himself, figure this out. We see another dream where Doug and Skeeter are escorting Loretta home after and they're still in like this Dick Tracy characterization. And Loretta's like, "Oh, I'll see you boys later." And she's going to go into her house. And Doug's like, "Well, you never let a girl open a door for herself." And he grabs the handle. The whole house just deflates like a balloon. And we see it's just a bunch of stolen goods that this chick is really just fleeced off Skeeter and his income, I believe, in this world, Stu.
I don't speak Yakistonian, really. I'm a con artist. And as she's walking away, she's like, "I left my money at home. Skeeter, can you cover my taxi?" And he tells her, "Take a hike."
Kick rocks, bitch. Fucking Skeeter. God damn it. But that's not real life, Steve. That's a dream. So now we go back to real life. Doug gets a call from Skeeter. It's alarming. One, he's calling from a mall, which is weird, but I guess back in the day you did remember your friends' phone numbers, you know. So he calls Doug. He's like, "Look, dude, weird, but I'm going to Yakistonia. I just wanted to call and say, you know, have a good weekend. What's up? Got to get a couple things for the lady before the trip because we're going skiing and shit. So she's trying on some stuff, but bye. I'll see you next week." And Doug's like, God damn it. And he gets on his bike. This guy's a homie, Steve. This is a real friend.
And he makes it there, and Skeeter's like, "It's okay. Her Aunt Marlene, she'll just pay me when she gets back." And then Doug just calls her out on her shit. He's had enough. And as he's doing that, Aunt Marlene actually does show up.
Cash in hand, Steve. A rack gets thrown on a table. Everything gets paid for. Baller alert. And then they just get on a private jet and leave. And leaving Doug looking like a little bitch, like, and a hater. Which this would hurt. Because he might have been able to go, Steve. Maybe holler at Marlene. Maybe she's into some weird European shit with some kid. I don't know. Maybe it's some Epstein shit, but he could have at least gone for the trip.
I can't fault Doug fully, man, because he's just trying to be a good homie. You know, he didn't want to see his buddy falling out to the wayside, man, and taken advantage of, man. Sipping ain't easy.
I do love this for Skeeter, though, because in this, he's gotten his dream girl. He's gotten a free flight to an international location with some rich actress from a place that, you know, it's probably what's the dollar conversion to Yakistonian? You know what I'm saying? It's probably one of those where you go in with like $500 and you live like a king for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I hear those Yakistonia girls are freaks, man. I'm sure Mr. Ding has returning trips.
Holy, you went to Yakistonia, Douglas? Did they do the thing with your prostate?
Hey, Douglas, I got these pictures from my trip to Yakistonia I wanted you to check out.
There's this thing called Glaze the Donut. I can't even really explain it, but it was, oh, God. I got to go into the shed, Douglas.
And in this excerpt, Doug's lesson is don't be so quick to judge people. And I hope Skeeter gets his lesson. Don't be so quick to sip out.
Yeah, don't pay immediately. This was something I did early on in my dating career, is just be real easy with the wallet because you thought that was the way to a woman's heart. But that's not it, guys. It's just going to lead you to heartache and less money in your bank account. But, you know, in this case, Steve, Skeeter, this is one of those times where everything lined up, you know? He did it. He won. So for that, I salute you.
But Someone who probably didn't watch this episode of Doug is probably Jerry, Mikey, and Parker Lewis, because Fox is airing the final episode of Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And I watched this at y'all's house. They went out bad, in my opinion. The whole final season, it was just a throwaway. You know, at this point, Parker Lewis doesn't have his iconic haircut. He's just like basically Corin Nimick, his real name. His nerd buddy, who was like the Fox version of Screech, he's not wearing his trench jacket. They're more, and along the way they have this diner hangout. They're there more than the actual school. So it's just like the things that were great, that added uniqueness to the show, they were long gone by this point.
He finally had to lose, Steve. And that's what happened ultimately. Was Coob in it at all? Did we get any sort of Kubiak denouement to his story?
You got some Coob, and also John Panette. They added him, like, I want to say season 2, season 3. It was like
We're big pants people. We're big pants people.
He must have been under contract with Fox, because John Panette, he was also in Vinny and Bobby. Pause. That sounded bad. He was in the show Vinny and Bobby.
John Panette was just that go-to fat guy, you know? It was him. It was the guy that played Pee-wee's arch nemesis for a while. Will Sasso became that for a while. I mean, there's, you know, when you're fat, that's a thing, Steve. It can definitely lead to a lot of opportunities. So John Panette was a really funny stand-up, too, just on his own. If you like fat material, you know?
And he's no longer with us. R.I.P. to him, man. I don't like when you just go clip show crazy on the finale. It just takes away the feels, man. You're not... It's
what
like
that says to me is the show got canceled well before that last episode, and they were like, "You just got to make. We have to make an episode of TV so that we don't like fuck up the contract. So just throw a bunch of clips in. Get Corey in here, like, and hang out at the diner for an episode, and just keep, you know, dream sequencing everything back to a clip."
Yeah, that's literally...
It's like that one time.
But somebody who probably didn't watch the series finale of Parker Lewis Can't Lose is probably the Hulkster, Vince McMahon, Randy Savage, Bret Hart, Bam Bam Bigelow, Jerry Lawler, Jim Ross, Bobby Heenan. Because in 1993, June 13, King of the Ring 93 is airing from the Nutter Center in Dayton. Go, Ohio.
You were there, Steve. You saw this. You experienced. You smelled Dayton, Ohio on this date.
Yeah, 6,500 people reported in attendance, and I know 4 of those people. It was me, my mother's boyfriend at the time, who would eventually become my brother's dad, and my cousin Mark. And ironically, I marked out. This whole event I marked out. And marking out, that's a wrestling term for basically wrestling stands, where you just go off of emotion and you believe everything is a legit hit, everything is real.
You were like one of those girls in the Beatle videos that's like passing out when they see Hulk, like when Hulkster went by, you were like,
oh my goodness.
Hyperventilation. I get it. This was the height of it, Steve. We were 10 years old.
Yeah, man. Well, on our way to be 10, because this is 93, summer of 93.
Not even double digits. We're 9. We're even dumber than 10, Steve. More gullible. And I was fully into all this. I get it. But what a great event to see. Sometimes you see a stinker. Sometimes you go to a football game, it's a fucking 3-3 fucking field goal extravaganza. It's just boring. But you got to see what I would say is a nice... I'll call it a banger, Steve. I'm coming out and saying it. It was good.
Oh, for sure, man. And I tried to spot myself. If you notice the little Hulkster impersonator at ringside, I do remember I was on the opposite end. So he's facing the camera, and we're like... We were sitting.
You were that close, Steve?
No, not at ringside. Okay. Like I was upward and diagonal, because I remember seeing him before the Hulk Hogan match. It was like, oh my god, like that dude. He kind of looks like him from a distance, but like watching it on TV, like he didn't look like the Hulkster. There was just a Fu Manchu, and he was wearing the getup. But unbelievable, man. I slept on the way there. I woke up and I was like, dude, I hope this isn't a setup. Like, we're just going to go to an empty building. Oh, there's a lot of cars here. This is it. This is it. We're here. We're
Like
here.
a bus. You see Hulk Hogan get off. You're like, it's him!
My God.
Hulk!
And dude, you could do a drinking contest for the number of times they said "Heartland of America" throughout this whole thing.
You have to get that across.
I love it.
We ain't on the coast, y'all. This is in between. This is all these savages in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. I love that you got to see this. Well, if anything that you remember that stands out as we go through this, I want to hear about it from like the live take. But, I got to say, I forgot, and I will forget from time to time, that these different little things, one of them being that Macho Man was an announcer for some time, and it's an energy to an announce team that's insane. You got the color commentator, you got the guy who's more the technical guy, and we got JR and Heenan there. It's a little comedy, just that's enough. But then you add the cocaine energy of just a straight shot out of a cannon, Macho Man Randy Savage, and I love that. It's not you're not getting a lot of technical know-how from him, from the Macho King, but it's solid gold,
He's on 10, man. He on 10.
Yeah.
And, this is the first televised King of the Ring. There were other, like, unofficial King of the Rings that might have been on TV or not even, like, recorded, because I think Duggan was one and Bret Hart won it before, but this is, like, the first official pay-per-view. And our first match is Bret Hart versus Razor Ramon. And, we're fans of both, man. I noticed when he gave the glasses to the kid, he just ignored the black kid. And I'm
like, thank you, Steve. Why? He gave them. There's an excited little black kid, cute as all hell. Like, yes. He goes around black kid, almost Matrix moves the kid, puts him on a baby, Steve. A baby?
A baby, yeah. That baby don't even know your name, Bret. The kid is animated. He's like, Bret. The kid doesn't even exist in his eyes. So,
Steve, when you told me that you went to this and I had, we didn't talk about it a lot, I was in a weird way hoping that was you and that you were going to be like, that was me, dude. That was me.
Oh, if it was, I'd sing a whole different tune with Bret. And I'm going to give you grace, Bret, because you're Canadian and I think you've done some cool things. But, man, I don't recall you ever giving those glasses to a black kid. I have to check the archives.
We do need to look into that, but it was so noticeable because you sidestepped one of your biggest fans to just put him on a baby that baby could give a fuck. He might not even like wrestling when he's old enough. So, Brad, shame on you for that. And one other thing that's non-wrestling related, there is the ref of this specific match has one of the most luscious mullets that we get in this whole pay-per-view, Steve. It's fantastic.
Mike Chioda, not to be confused with the Walmart rapper from Linkin Park. Mike Chioda, he was a long-time wrestling referee, and I think he just retired in like the mid-2010s. And this match is good, man. It doesn't last long between Razor and Bret. Razor, he's just coming off that little upset victory from the 1-2-3 Kid, a.k.a. Cannonball Kid. But, man, I always loved his get-up. He's rocking the green and gold, and the knee pads and the elbow pads. Got to match the tights with the
little razors on them, Steve. He has the little razors on the shit. It's not... there was not a lot of thought put into it, but it looks good. It's on the nose, but I still love it.
Like John Witherspoon, you got to coordinate.
But for some reason, the song just matches the vibe so well with Razor Ramon. When he comes out, you can see the Scarface, like the magnitude,
Man, if I had a whiskey bottle, man, I'd be tanked from the death pool that was in this event, man. R.I.P. to Scott Hall. And at one point, he puts Bret in the Razor's Edge, but Bret reverses it. And then they wrestle some more, and there's a suplex off the rope, but Bret reverses that, and he gets the pin. Razor's eliminated, and Bret moves on.
Yeah, and the one other thing about these King of the Ring matches that they're only 15 minutes in this first round, I think. There's like a time limit to all these where they have to like win in a certain amount of time or whatever. So,
Yeah.
Razor's out. I was a little bit heartbroken, but we knew it, I've seen this. I knew it was going to happen. So, next, we get the perfect one himself, Kurt Hennig. We love this. Actually, well, we'll get to that. And then he's taking on some guy who I don't remember, Mr. Hughes, Steve. Yeah. Do you remember this guy? I mean, you probably do.
I do.
But, okay.
I remember Mr. Hughes. He had a short stint in WCW, and he wore the same getup.
He just looks like Eddie Murphy's bodyguard, Steve. Like somebody that was just like, he looks like that guy. Like he was almost like an Last Dragon villain, like henchman dude. He
looks like my homeboy Trey, and I actually just clowned him this morning. I sent him a picture of Mr. Hughes, like just clowning, like, man, why don't you smile in your pictures, bro?
Damn, well, you got some intimidating friend. I'd love to meet fucking Trey, dude. It's fucking
Trey's cool as hell. He was a Marine though, but he looks like him in the face, man. And we get a little little backstory clip of Mr. Hughes just to show how mean he is. And he's just beating the piss out of Undertaker and Paul Bearer because he don't give a single fuck.
With the urn, I mean, he put it to Paul Bearer's noggin a couple times, just like an assault, and then he just takes the urn, Steve.
This your precious urn. Give me this shit.
Man, I'm gonna drink water out of this shit. What is this? This is your daddy? Bye. There's ashes, but that's hilarious. So we see that, and then we get another hilarious thing because now Bobby Heenan has this thing called brain scan, which is like the Teletron thing that people have for like football, and we get a Bobby Heenan brain scan of one of my favorite aspects of Mr. Perfect, the gum slap, Steve. He sort of works us, step by step into the perfection of that little whatever maneuver, whatever you want to call it. And I just thought that was hilarious. I love giving Bobby Heenan any sort of Teletron access. It's going to get dicey, though.
Anytime he's on the mic, it's going to be gold, man. And, another thing, Mr. Hughes is already in the ring. After they show that little clip of him beating Undertaker and Paul Bearer, that just shows that, like, we have no future plans for you. I'm not going to call Jim Johnston to create one of those classic melodies for you. Just get your black ass in here with your manager, and then when we cut back to live, like, you just there. Just look mean and stand in the middle of the ring.
Make Kurt look good, okay?
And boy, does he, man, because something else I clocked, when Perfect gets into the ring, he does a behind-the-back towel throw, and the shit lands perfectly on Mr. Hughes' shoulder. Did you catch that?
Hell yeah, dude. He's got sweat. Like, he is Mr. Perfect, Steve. That's the best name you could call this guy. Nothing lacks pizzazz. Nothing lacks anything.
Every capital P.
He makes Mr. Hughes look good. Because he does, in this match specifically, because Mr. Hughes, he's just like this guy that's big. He's one of these big guys. He's going to hit you a bunch. He's going to hit you hard. He's throwing you hard. And Kurt Hennig's great at this because those sells he does where he runs into a fucking like turnbuckle really hard and then like collapses or flips over or something. He does that a bunch. He makes Mr. Hughes look good, but I mean, come on. We all knew what was going to happen here, everybody. You can't be... Mr. Hughes might be good, but he ain't Mr. Perfect, Steve. Fuck that. He has to take an urn, hit Mr. Perfect in the face, and lose the match that way. So Mr. Perfect advances. He doesn't necessarily pin Mr. Hughes, but, it was a foregone conclusion. We all knew what was going to happen here.
Yeah. R.I.P. to Kurt Hennig, man. Another one, man. And now we're backstage with Mean Gene and Yokozuna with Mr. Fuji. Another Mr. And Mr. Fuji's like, Hulk Hogan, you cheated. This is a bigger Yokozuna, a better Yokozuna, a wiser Yokozuna. And just Yokozuna just looks stank. I'm sorry. R.I.P. to Rodney, Mr. Anoa of the legend. I can't pronounce their name. But yeah, you're a legend too, man. But like, dang, like that's just a lot of weight, man. And it looks like it hurts just walking.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy he could wrestle at all and, like, for any length of time because he's, like, I don't know if it's accurate, but they're saying he's over 500 pounds, and it's all ass and legs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weirdly proportioned out, but he's ready to. He wants. It's America versus Japan, Steve. Yeah. We're going back to World War II here.
Even though he's Samoan, I swear, man. The what do you call it? Blackface. This is a WWF version of blackface.
Same old shit. Whatever. Okay.
Scott, I know you're a white guy from Minnesota, but for now you're a Cuban from Miami. Now get out.
Scarface, get out there, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, and the next match is Bam Bam Bigelow versus Jim Duggan, and I love both of these guys. I found it funny that Jim Duggan does his USA chant, but Bam Bam is from Asbury Park, New Jersey, so I can see if you're fighting a foreigner, but Duggan, I kind of feel like he had 4 people in his classroom at all times.
Couple of things. Where's Luna Vachon at, Steve? Fuck is she at?
Oh, she'll show up.
Oh, so this is pre-Luna Vachon.
Luna's in the mix, but she's not involved in this match. And I saw a sign that said Bam Bam Bigelow. Even though it's hilarious, come on, man. Bam Bam deserves better than that.
Well, he's moments away from his titty popping out most of this match. It's bizarre. Yeah. It's very feminine titties, but Bam Bam Bigelow, very intimidating, badass, huge. They list him at 395, and this is another person, crazy that he wrestles a shitload, and this guy is not athletic. He is a big motherfucker. So I mean, salute to him, but as much as Jim Duggan's like a Hall of Famer, he's a legend and all that, he just looks like a recently fired American Gladiator in this. He looks slim for Hacksaw Jim Duggan in this one. I'll give him credit for that. But, I mean, come on. What's going on here, Jim? Just fucking throw the fucking 2x4 up and let's get this going.
And he tries to go for his 3-point stance, clothesline. He misses and runs into the turnbuckle, and that basically sets Bam Bam up for his diving headbutt, and he hits a crispy one. Bam Bam proceeds, gets the pin, and Duggan, he's eliminated.
I do also. Heenan had a great, because he's the heel announcer of this, so he'll take any chance to shit on somebody and go against the grain. And at one point, JR is in this match talking about how brave Duggan is and how tough he is and how much of a legend he is. And Heenan just it's like his mic turns on, he coughs and is like, I heard he's a coward. And I heard when he goes into town, everybody just makes fun of him because he's such a coward. He's just fucking shitting all over him. I love that.
Oh, man.
And also, Steve, if you want to feel old, as much as we're clowning Hacksaw Jim Duggan for looking old and yada yada, he's 39 in this pay-per-view, so we're older than Hacksaw Jim Duggan in this.
Wow. Man, well, hey, I can't say anything about Duggan, I feel, at this point. And backstage, we have the former Red Rooster, Terry Taylor, interviewing the Steiners and the Smoking Guns, a young Bart and Billy, man. Billy's come a long way.
Yeah. He definitely did a couple cycles of some roids to get up to the ass man stratosphere, but the Smoking Guns, it comes off as very 70s porn looking at this point. I don't care for that. And the Steiner brothers, as much as I love them, I don't get and we've talked about it, just the style of the singlets they wear. It's like Jostin's 90s photography backgrounds. I don't get it.
I love it. It fits the time. It's very 90s, and this happened in 93, and that was always their thing. They wear these neon color, different pattern, different design singlets, man. But I will say, even though I love the Steiners, they should have been arrested for wearing those damn varsity Michigan jackets in the heartland.
Can I ask you, though, as far as somebody who hates everything Michigan, as somebody who loves Ohio State and Ohio and everything, is that the pinnacle of is that one of the few Michigan alumnus that you can actually root for? Steiner, they get a pass.
Of course. They're
What about Charles Woodson? Does he get a pass, or is he relegated?
he gets a pass because of how great he was, and he was in Ohio, and
Okay.
yeah, but they're few and far between.
Rich Eisen. How about him?
Yeah, I could do without him.
Okay. Sorry, Rich.
Yeah.
I enjoy your commentary, but Steve, you getting kicked to the curb, so I got to go with it. It's a team, so
Yeah.
respect. Okay, but now we're going. I was trying to figure out who that Red Rooster guy was. I was like, this guy looks fucking familiar. I know he's just something, but is that Kato Kalin or who is that?
But the next match is the Narcissist, Lex Luger versus Tatanka.
This is Tatanka at his best, I feel like, Steve. He comes out like a shot out of a cannon. He's running like Ultimate Warrior style. But before Tatanka comes out, Lex has to get the mirror out. He's the Narcissist. He's got the Pop-Tart material cape that looks like a Pop-Tart wrapper sewn together, like a million of them sewn together. But he's got the mirror, and I mean, what are you going to do? He got the body. Vogue. And
if you would have told me in '93 that same man would be in the current state he's in, I would not believe it.
It is wild, dude. But right now, in this time period, he's coming like with the Stuart Smalley school of motivation. Get in a mirror, tell yourself you look good, get ready to go.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even like. I was sitting there like looking at it like that's a big fucking mirror. I wonder like what the mechanics of getting that thing out of the ring whenever the match starts. And it takes a while, Steve, because Tatanka comes out, mirror's still there, and even Lex is like, hey, amigo, compadre, let me just get a couple more in real quick. I didn't see what the action was over here on the right.
I'm not done talking to myself in the mirror. And also, like, something important is, like, Lex has to cover his forearm because at this time he had this narrative of, like, having a bionic forearm. So it was kind of like a lethal weapon. So you can't use it. And he had to cover that out. It's like, I'm like, let's say he did have what is the use of the pad? If his shit is that strong, it's going to hurt regardless.
But there's a pad, Steve. And that makes all the difference in the world. You put a pad on a pipe and hit somebody in the head with the pipe, they're totally fine. So I don't know if you went to school or not. Sorry that some of us didn't pay attention in biology class, but for those of us in the know, it makes a difference. But, Tatanka gets in, Lex gets a couple more pec pops in, and then the match actually starts. And for most of this, Tatanka's just putting the fucking screws to Lex Luger, which I love. I forgot about Tatanka. Is it a racist stereotype? Probably a little bit, but he looks cool. I'm just gonna say he looks like a badass. But don't they just run out of time?
They come to a time limit draw, and Bobby Heenan throughout this match, he refers to him as Tatanka. Like, I don't know. Like, there was an interview with Bam Bam, like a little interstitial, like picture and screen kind of deal, where he's like, they're asking him, like, who do you want to face? Well, I want to get my hands on the Indian.
That was suspect, Steve.
We were so insensitive in the early 90s. Also, Heenan said, Buffalo Bill Bigelow, that was his granddad. He used to scalp them all. Well, that's irrelevant to what's going on in the ring right now.
Let's get off of this racial shit, brother.
That's what Macho's there to do, Steve. He's the voice of reason, actually. I didn't realize that. He's there to steer you back. We need a Macho Man.
The macho moderator, man, and so yeah, they're both eliminated. Lex wants 5 more minutes, and as he's distracting everybody, even Tatanka's doing his little thing or whatever, and then he just bombs him, blindsides him with that bionic forearm. Ain't these pretty?
Look at this. Look at my little nipple nips. He's got a little. I'm not gonna say that. I was about to get real suspect, but so. Basically, now Bam Bam, this is a tournament style thing, so he just gets to hang out. Bam Bam, and he needs it. Steve, he's got to go get a couple of hoagies, whatever, what have yous. What do they got in Dayton? What's the food of choice in Dayton?
Donatos, man.
Oh God, dude. No, he's gonna down a couple of those and get diarrhea. But next match, Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, and in this, before the match, they're head to head, Steve. They're nose to nose. And Mean Gene's fucking stirring the shit. And I
He's an
love
instigator.
that.
Yeah. It's like,
wait, Brett, didn't you say Kurt Hennig's mama was so fat? He's like, no, wait, I didn't say that. And Mr. Perfect starts getting pissed off, and Mean Gene just in the background, like Jerry Springer, like. I also love that Kurt Hennig's like, all right, bygones be by. Hey, he fucking does that. He just fucking plays his ass. It's Mr. Perfect, Steve. I'm rooting for him. In this match, with the build-up that I watched so far, I'm totally rooting against Bret Hart. And also, take into account the snubbing of the little black kid, we're all rooting for Kurt.
I feel you on that, but I didn't see that in real time. I didn't clock that until now. But this one, now that the ante is upped, there's a 30-minute time limit where we're into the semifinals, I believe now. And Jim Ross, like another thing to note, he mentions the NBA Finals. They're in Game 3, the Suns versus the Bulls. They're playing in Chicago. And another one of my heroes, Mike, he drops 44 in a triple overtime game on the same night.
If Steve could be like Mike, you wanna be like Mike or Hulk. But this is a great match, like we could all expect. It's two technical wrestlers, two second-generation wrestlers. They're going at it. It's fantastic. At one point in this match, Mr. Perfect does so good that Bobby the Brain Heenan, who was once Kurt Hennig's manager, says, you know what? If he apologizes to me, I'll take him back. This guy's a beast. Mr. Perfect, I want back in that business. But, it just doesn't go his way. I mean, Kurt Hennig, as perfect as he is, Bret's the chosen one at this point, and he barely screeches a dub. Barely, Steve.
There's like a double suplex outside the top rope, and they both like suplex each other. I thought that was cool. Like as one is going out, he suplexes the other, and so they get back in the ring. They hobble back in the ring. Perfect. He does a schoolboy roll up, and at the last second, Bret reverses the roll up, and he gets the pin. Now Perfect is eliminated. Bret moves on, and they have a back and forth. Perfect and Bret, and before you know it, Perfect, he's just like, you know what, I'm going to be a good sport. They do a little gentlemanly handshake, and then Perfect leaves the ring.
Macho Man's straight. It's like he squirted. He's so excited, Steve. He's just wet with excitement.
That match took a lot out of me. I took my glasses off. I took my hat off.
I ripped my shirt. God damn it.
He's sweating bullets. He looks like he's waiting on results. And now, this isn't even the main. I mean, I don't know what the main event really is. I guess it's the culmination of King of the Ring. But now we're Yokozuna versus Hulk Hogan for the strap, Steve. America, Japan. Fuck a Pearl Harbor. We're going, this is a real deal. We're head to head.
Yeah. And you know what? You talk about the flag, you talk about America, that's like a slap in the face of Hulkamania. The five-time champ.
Meat versus muscles, Steve. 550 pounds or whatever versus 34-inch pythons or whatever they're clocking at this point. Because this is Hulkster. This is really like prime Hulkster, dude. When he does the little pre-match insane rant that he goes on before this about the prayers and the vitamins and the America, he's just popping, Steve. He's sweating. He's got that hot dog skin. He's got the red shit on. He's looking fucking hulked out.
And I want that Jimmy Hart jacket, man. That shit is so clean.
That's what I'm saying. Jimmy Hart, if you're listening or somehow you hear this, get all the jackets that you had. I hope to God that you still have a collection of these. And let's just start a Jimmy the Mouth of the South museum. Because just that in and of itself, I would love to see that. Or rent them out. Do some kind of weird service where I can rent the fucking outfit. I'll wear that shit all day. I probably won't fit in it, but I'd love to.
And then, like, consider doing layaway, because I know I can't afford them
This
shits.
is a Hulkster right here, brother.
Hulkster even points out how good. He's like, damn, dude. Whoever that airbrush artist was that was doing those Jimmy Hart jackets, God bless, dude. I want to get some of his art.
You're a true
Or her
artist.
art. I don't know. I don't know who it is. I hate to fucking judge.
He, them, they, there. And Hulkamania is alive at the Nutter Center, man. You can, what did JR say? You can feel the laughter shaking. And, like, I should have known something was up when you saw all the photographers at ringside. It was like, of all the pay-per-view events, this never happens in the match. Why are they so close to the ring? Oh, it's like, okay, Japan and all that, like they're photographers, like tourists or something. And yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah, and this is a match where these giant fat people like Yokozuna that wrestled, the wrestling what you get, it's not great because it's all the flailing of arms, like clothesline after clothesline after clothesline. I mean, in this match, Yokozuna eats maybe double-digit clotheslines without falling down. Couple of big boots to the face. He gets a couple of Hulkster big boots. Nothing can take down this juggernaut, Steve. Hulkster throws the kitchen sink at him, and as Hulkster's about to just lay down the final nail in the coffin could be. I don't know what he was going to try to do. Maybe body slam him again.
Because he dropped the atomic leg drop, and he kicked out of that.
And he couldn't pick Yokozuna up. That was one of the things. He kept trying and it wasn't happening. But near the end of this match, a very odd-looking photographer gets up on the apron, starts trying to snap photos, and Hulkster approaches, and by God, Steve, was this an 1800s camera? Because that bulb flashed. Some flames went out. Hulkster's down. He might be blind.
Yeah,
we don't know.
It's like the guy that took all those Civil War pictures. It was one of those cameras, and like that's one of those memories that it's like embedded in my brain, man. Because I took that hatred home with me that night. We made it back to Columbus, and like I said, my cousin was staying with us like first couple weeks of summer, and we go back to my room, and we just can't believe that shit. We're cussing at this point. We're 9. He's I think 11. I can't believe that shit. That motherfucker really did that shit. Fuck
fucking Japan, man. He's sneaky. But Yokozuna wins, Steve. That opens up the door. He beats fucking Hulkster in the Heartland. And he gets that strap. He disrespects the strap as far as I think JR is concerned. He just throws that shit on the ground and Bonsai drops Hulkster a couple times to really just get that ass wipe on there. Just really dig it in, you know? And if you thought he smelled before the match, try taking that 550 pounds ass first, like inches away from your nose. I bet that was fun.
Such a violation. And the fact that you beat Hogan with his own finishing move, or using those big drumstick legs of yours.
Children were weeping in the video, Steve. You were probably there, were weeping too, but there's kids dropping tears. Like, I'm not going to say what I was going to say related to Tatanka and commercials with people littering, but, dude, it was an emotional thing. You never thought, and it was a nationalistic thing at this point, because God knows that of all the enemies America had in the 90s, Japan was right up there, I guess.
Yeah, man. And, you know, to add insult to even more injury, that was Hogan's last match before he jumped ship to the other guys, man. But, yeah, now we have an interview with Terry Taylor and Mr. Perfect post-match, and it's real quick. He's just basically giving Bret his props. You know, but at the same time, he's kind of pissed that he didn't win. I just don't like Mr. Perfect in this light. I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, he just doesn't, as a baby face, you're more suited to be hated. I like Kurt better as a villain.
He does cocky things like throwing the towel and the gum slap and stuff. So it's made to be you're made to be a heel. You're made to be a little cocky asshole that talks shit and backs it up. And in this case, it's just like they're pushing the second generation like wrestler, like the class act, shake a hand and acknowledge each other's talent. And, you know, this is the 90s, Steve. We're getting close to NWO and DX. Fuck the respect bullshit.
And speaking of NWO, the next interview is Mean Gene with HBK and Diesel. And Mean Gene, I love you, R.I.P. to you, but you mentioned Detroit. You talked about Detroit. You're not in Detroit, bro. I don't know if this was pre-recorded, if you had a 1 too many cocktails before this interview, but you in Dayton.
Mean Gene's behind. Like, we're gonna roll in 10 seconds. Oh fuck, where we at? Detroit, cool, yeah. Hey, we're in Detroit. Like, son of a bitch. We're live, bud. Fucking piece of shit.
Denver, Davenport,
dude. Diesel. I know it took a while to figure out the style, but the white denim look with the marbles and the bedazzles and shit. I don't like that for him. I don't like
him and HBK, because HBK comes out in like a bedazzled chain vest. Like,
it's not even chain, dude. That's like cloth mesh that's see-through. There's no shirt. It's like fucking the remnants of fabric they made from a bunch of shirts just tied together. But it's a HBK, dude. He's not going to leave those clothes on long in the ring or in bed with some hot ladies. So it just is what it is.
And the next match is the Steiner brothers and the Smoking Guns versus Money Inc. and the Headshrinkers with Alpha.
Yeah, I don't know. This was basically Bart Gunn getting his ass kicked for about most of the match. We didn't get any. I didn't really clock the Steiners for more than a couple of minutes in this shit.
Yeah, it was a short match for having 8 people involved, man, because eventually the young Billy Gunn, he gets an inside cradle and gets the pin. Smoking Guns and Steiners get the win. And Randy, he's still stuck on that Hogan match. I still can't believe it.
What match? What are we talking about? Macho, come on, man. That was 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You know, but we did get we get a nice little $1 million man. We get a couple of funny little laughs. We get IRS. We get the Headshrinkers. Is one of these Rikishi?
Yep, that's Fatu.
How many what did it happen between now and when he became Rikishi? That, like, what was he eating that it all went to his ass like that? He's a normal looking guy.
Yeah. He's had different renditions before the Rikishi character, but yeah, he's been in the game for a minute, man.
It wasn't that good, but there were some fun little moments in there, and it wasn't a complete snoozer, but it's over. $1 Million Man fucked the match up. He gloated too much, and that's really what led to the downfall where Billy Gunn got in and did what he did, and he's not the ass man yet. Like I said, he looks like somebody that's in some sort of cowboy porn at this moment, and salute to that. You know, he pulled it off.
Yeah, Smoking Guns, that was never my thing. And now Mean Gene is backstage with Mr. Fuji and Yokozuna and Jack Tunney. And I always feel like Jack Tunney was a taciturn-ass spokesperson for WWE. Like, dude, like, how does that happen?
He's the business face. He's like, yeah, hey, Jack Tunney here.
I'm just here.
Say congrats, Yokozuna. See ya.
Yeah, I'm not the real owner or president, but, you know, I just play one on TV. And they say that, like, I'm going to celebrate. Mean Gene asked, like, if they're going to celebrate. He says, like, we're going to celebrate here for all of USA. All Japan, they're already celebrating. And me and Yokozuna, we're going to celebrate at a later date. We'll let y'all know, though. Like, we don't care.
This ain't even a win. We going to Denny's. You can have whatever you want, Yokozuna.
Why don't they have 40-piece nuggets?
Not yet. They will someday. God, if I was a fat kid, Steven, could get my hands on a 40-piece nugget back in the day, that still sounds heavenly. But back to the event. Now we're at Shawn Michaels with Diesel. Going against one of our favorite wrestlers, Crush. And this isn't the biker crush, the one that looks less gay. This is the the surfer crush that no one wanted.
Hawaiian Cougar Crush.
I mean, this guy, I guess he's hell on a surfboard, Steve, because he ain't doing shit in the ring. You know what I'm saying?
With the bleach blonde mullet. And HBK with that bedazzled vest, man. So this match, I don't think was long either. I thought Diesel was going to interfere, but he's just standing there being an imposing threat. And two doinks appear. They come down to ringside, and they're both smoking a stogie. And I guess they have an angle with Crush, or this leads to an angle with Crush, because Crush, he's distracted now, looking at these two doinks like, what the hell is going on? So distracted to the point that HBK sneaks from behind, gets a roll-up pin, and he's still Intercontinental Champion.
Yep. So now Shawn can go back to all those ladies, and Diesel can go back to being one of the background extras in that theater scene in The Last Dragon where Shonuff beats up the whole theater because he's dressed like one of those people in that theater.
Bullets with your teeth.
Yeah, dude. When I saw Crush, I was like, God damn it. I'm sorry, Crush. If you're still alive, I'm sorry. But okay. Well, rest in peace. I'm not going to say anything. Say less, Matt.
Yeah, look a shot for Crush.
Yeah, I'll take a sip of something later. But aloha, bro. Bret in the next match, the last match, the headline match, I guess this is the you'd call it that. This is Bret Hart versus Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam, he's off an hour. He's got about an hour and a half of rest. Bret, he's sweaty. He's limping.
He's limping. He's got a dislocated finger. He probably hurt his knee in the last match with Hennig. And I don't know if you noticed this, but Bam Bam, he got stitched up in between matches because at the end of his first match, he's gushing at the top of his scalp.
I didn't even clock that. There's so many like hot dog rolls on his head and neck that it just like kind of covers up.
And he's ragdolling Bret throughout this match, man. He's got him in like bear hugs. He's got him in backbreaker holds. And a couple of times Bret reverses him. But he clinches that string right back on him, throws him in some more bear hugs and backbreakers.
Yeah. It's a lot of rules. You know, he's got to take some breaks. Got to get the titty readjusted so it doesn't pop out. Because every time he punches in this match, you see nipples, Steve. It's almost obscene. It's almost X-rated.
Yeah. Get a higher neckline.
He's crucifying Bret. He's just, embarrassing him. Macho Man, he's mentally and physically drained at this point by all this excitement. He can barely contain his goddamn self. And at some point in, like, when I say crucify, it's basically like Bam Bam has Bret on his shoulder, like, right before it's basically right before Razor Ramon lifts you up. You're just on the shoulder.
Yeah, it's a backbreaker. Yeah.
Yes. And then at some point, Bret like reverses that and doesn't he just like flip him and like pin him?
That doesn't happen yet. I mean, he does do some reverses, but eventually Bret is outside of the ring, and I think the ref is distracted. He's talking to Bam Bam, doing one of those kind of deals. And now we see Luna. Luna, she comes in like the Repo Man with the chair shot. R.I.P. to Luna. And then so like now, after getting hit with the chair, Bret comes in, and Bam Bam gets a diving headbutt and gets the pin, but now, Earl Ebner, who wasn't a referee in the match, he steps in to reverse the decision and calls attention to what just happened to the other ref. And that ref is Joey Marella, who's Gorilla Monsoon's son. R.I.P. to both of them.
That's confusing.
Sorry.
But Bret, with the match is near the end, Bret somehow he does like some kind of weird somersault pin, which looks crazy because it's almost like, remember when in Hook, the fat kid is like rolling like a cannonball? That's kind of what Bam Bam Bigelow looks like. It's like kind of like that, but it ends with Bam Bam Bigelow just getting pinned for the 1, 2, 3 because, as we all know, he's the excellence of execution, Steve. If there's some sort of technical way he can get a win, he does. And in here, it all pays off, Steve.
With the victory roll. And now Bret Hart is the official 1993 King of the Ring, and even Macho has to get out of his seat. He has to go in there and give his boy his props. Like, yeah, brother. All right, man. I'll be back at the commentator booth, man. Let me know what's going on after this.
I got chicken tendies over there, man. Good job, brother.
But as you know, Steve, you can't claim to be a king when there's already a king.
Yeah.
And in this case, there's Jerry, the King Lawler, and he doesn't really take kindly to all this royal king shit when he's here himself, been crowned, been known, and been absolved of any of this. He's already the king. So he comes out, he tells Bret, what the fuck, dude? You're trying to this is my gig.
It's my coronation.
Fuck that shit. And Bret kind of takes that a little, he says to get some personal shots in, calls him the Burger King, gets a Burger King chant going. And, rightfully so, Steve. The royalty in Jerry, he can't handle this. So he takes his scepter, he hits fucking Bret Hart with it, and he just goes to town.
Yeah, he destroys the whole set. It's like, oh, I'm the Burger King, man. Fuck your scepter. Matter of fact, I'm gonna break this over my leg.
Yeah, that's cheap shit. Man, look at this. Look at your throne, man. This shit ain't even heavy. I'm gonna pick this shit up.
Fuck that throne. Phony ass throne. Fuck your fort.
And that's it, Steve. He throws a hissy fit. I'm assuming this is gonna lead to something that him and Bret Hart are gonna get into at some point. But all that in a day in Dayton, Ohio, Steve, and you were there, right smack dab in the epicenter of it all, and I love that.
And I definitely joined in on that Burger King chant. One of the things I'll never forget, man, the whole place had a strong scent of cologne, and my 9-year-old brain is thinking, dang, man, Razor Ramon wears great cologne. And I bet that's Razor Ramon's cologne. He would like that. That's the expensive kind.
Man, that's a smell of Razor Ramon right there.
Yeah, he looks like he wears good cologne. I bet it's like that musk. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. It's fucking what was it? It's like Sauvage now, honestly. I don't know what that would be in 93. Maybe some Hugo Boss or something, something a little polo or something. I don't know. But that's hilarious. Weird it would be in Dayton though, but there's probably a lot of stinky people there. Maybe they just are self-aware.
Yeah, let's get a lot of
I think Brian Bosworth was from Dayton originally, Steve. Look it up.
I swear. Huh?
Look it up. I think I went to film school with I don't know if it was his niece, but she was from Dayton, and I think he's from originally Dayton, or he has family in Dayton, dude.
Brian Bosworth, born in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Suck a dick, me.
Well,
sorry, I had to just throw that in because I just was reminiscing about film school. But Dayton, Ohio, this is probably the greatest thing that's ever happened in Dayton.
Yeah, bar none, man, easily. But 1995, June 13th, Alanis Morissette releases Jagged Little Pill, and according to our guy Clark the Shark, this is the highest selling album of the 90s, of the decade, man.
She got that bag, Steve. What's that? What is that? What does her earnings equate to in Canadian dollars? How many Tim Hortons donuts is that?
Yeah.
I didn't like this because I was a little boy and I thought girl music was dumb. But as an adult, I like this album, dude. I like Alanis.
Yeah, she's cool. She's Canadian. It's got the ironic. I like that.
You brought up Dave Coulier earlier. Apparently, one of these songs is about him.
You ought to know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had
He told me to cut it out. Shut up.
But man, shout out to Alanis Morissette. But 1997, Speed 2 Cruise Control premieres in theaters. A computer hacker breaks into the computer system of the Seabourn Legend cruise liner and sets it speeding on a collision course into a gigantic oil tanker. Directed by Jean Debon, starring Sandra Bullock, Jason Patrick, Willem Dafoe, Tamira Morrison, and Glenn Plummer.
It doesn't live up to the first one, Steve. Let's put it like that. This There's a couple questions because I remember this movie. I wanted it to be good, and there's some good elements in this movie. Willem Dafoe specifically, and I'll get to that.
Same. Thank you.
Is Jason Patrick supposed to be the same character that Keanu Reeves was in the first movie? Do you know?
I don't think so. I'm not sure though. I did watch it, but honestly, bro, I didn't really care for the first one. I mean, I might be crucified for saying that because it's probably
Christ, dude. Keep it.
Probably unpopular.
I can understand that, but this one, here's what they did right. Willem Dafoe, okay?
Yeah.
They could have gotten somebody else other than Sandra Bullock. She phones it in this. Jason Patrick, I'm going to say he's playing the same character as Keanu Reeves, and they just couldn't get Keanu Reeves because he looks identical. He's got the shaved hair. I think this is literally right off the heels of the first movie because in this movie, they make allusions to the first one. Like Sandra Bullock does like a driving test, which in the first one she did and failed. And she sees like the same driving instructor, and she's driving all crazy and talking about buses going too fast and stuff. Weirdly enough, there's a black guy who, in the first one, they stole his car to chase the bus. In this one, he's now moved to wherever this cruise ship is going. He's heavily involved in the end of the movie.
Glenn Plummer.
He's got some like Jamaican hottie that he's with. And he's on a boat that's like following the action. I remember that, but it's not good. I don't remember exactly what's going on. The boat gets hijacked. The boat goes into like an oil tanker. I remember that. Willem Dafoe is a good villain in this. He's crazy.
Yeah.
And in the end of this movie, for 10 seconds, is perfect acting and is one of the reasons why I think Willem Dafoe should play the Joker in a Batman movie because at the end of this, he's flying a helicopter. The helicopter gets like trapped on like a antenna of some kind and just like starts leaking gas. He notices this and knows he's going to die and starts laughing maniacally like an insane person, like the Joker.
And he's perfect.
And it's perfect. And that's what I'm saying. That's really, that 5 seconds is really as good as this movie gets. So, I don't know what I can say other than that. But William Dafoe, you killed it. I love that.
And that's what I was thinking watching this, man. He is the saving grace of this, man. And I can relate. The older I get, I can relate to these villains in these movies, man, because he's basically like a disgruntled employee. You know, he was a big part of that company's success, and they just let him go. And he's seeking vengeance. And I'm not suggesting that people do that at their former places of employment, but I get it. It's like the Chris Rock thing. I'm not saying he should have killed him, but I understand.
Yeah. I mean, we all get that. We've all hated working our jobs. And in this case, I guess it takes hijacking a gigantic cruise ship and blowing up an oil tanker. So there's Jan DeBont or whatever, however you say his name. That's kind of what this guy makes. He makes these like epic explosion movies, and you get a couple of those. So for that, I'd like my hour and a half back or 2 hours back, but Willem Dafoe, I'll give you some kudos.
Yeah, man. And on that same day in 1997, Yuli's Gold premieres. A reclusive beekeeper slowly pulls his dysfunctional family back together, but now without having to fight his son's previous dastardly cohorts. Directed by Victor Nunez, starring Peter Fonda, Patricia Richardson, Jessica Biel, J. Kenneth Campbell, Tom Wood, and Vanessa Zima.
Who knew Making Honey could be so entertaining and so dramatic, Steve?
And this is available on Pluto. Mr. Easy Rider, Peter Fonda, this is his only nomination. After such an illustrious career, man, you would think he would have others, but he actually did win the Golden Globe. He didn't win for Best Actor in the Academy, but he did win the Golden Globe. And this is Jessica Biel's first feature film, man, the future Miss Timberlake.
And I definitely seen this movie. I remember watching this with my parents, and essentially, isn't it like this dysfunctional? They move in with the beekeeper, and he's just kind of like teaching them how to live a better life, and he's had some kind of fucked up life too, or
Well, he's a widow. Peter Fonda's a widow, and his son is in prison for a botched bank robbery. And the baby mom, she's kind of strung out doing drugs or whatnot. So Peter Fonda has to be a surrogate, or his character Yuli has to be a surrogate for his granddaughters. And the accomplices of it with his son, they didn't get caught. Only his son got caught. So now that they're free, they're basically like posing a threat to Yuli because they don't know where the money is. They don't, and like in a drugged out state, the baby mom lets them know that the money is hidden. They didn't even know that the son got the money. They just thought like, oh, it was all for naught. But like they got her under the influence, and she tells them that like, oh, the money is hidden. So like they're pressuring Yuli to say, hey, go next time you visit your son, let us know where that money is, or else.
No more honey, bitch.
Yeah, you love your granddaughters. How much do you love them? So
Peter Fonda, Steve, he pulls it off. He's a good actor. I remember this movie. It's just one of those where this is weird. This wouldn't get made now. It's like explaining it. It's kind of bizarre, but it's a quality film.
Yeah, R.I.P. to that legend too, man. But somebody who probably didn't watch any of those in 1997 is probably Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, and the Airness himself, because the Chicago Bulls win their 4th championship after defeating the Utah Jazz.
Is this the famous one where Michael Jordan does like the pull-up jumper and he like hangs in the air and makes like the game winner? Is that it? Remember?
That's 98. That's the final. And I take that back. This isn't his 4th one. This is their 5th because they won it in 96. That's their 4th one. 97, they came back and they beat the Utah Jazz.
Well, God damn it. We all wanted it. We were all rooting for it, Steve. Nobody wanted the Utah Jazz to win.
Yeah, like no one outside of Salt Lake City, bro.
And they didn't want it either. They just wanted to have multiple wives.
And do weird butt stuff. But finally, in 1999, all of this wrestling, WCW is airing the Great American Bash 99 on pay-per-view. And 2 things of note. The pay-per-view starts off with Master P and his posse getting out of their cars, and they're approached. Yeah. They're approached by Kurt Hennig. Once again, he pops up, and he's got a copy of one of Master P's albums. He's like, Master P, I'm such a big fan. You know what? I'm Bowdy and Rowdy. And it just, imagine that in Kurt Hennig's voice. You know, I'm such a big fan. And he's just like, yeah, Woody, you know what, man? Hold up, man. So, actually, Master P, he pulls out a copy of his album, and he signs it. And he's like, yeah, man, just to show you how much of a fan I am. Man, fuck your album. And he just breaks it. He just breaks it in front of Master P and all of his friends. He's just like, oh, man. So he's got this security guard named Big Swole. And like,
Big Swole.
Yeah, Big Swole looked like he did some time. I apologize if he hadn't, but he just has a certain build that, like, man, you only get that in the pen. But like, Big Swole gets in front of Master P, and like, that kicks off a whole angle between Master P and the No Limit Soldiers versus Kurt Hennig and like his Southern group with Barry Windham and some I think Bobby Duncombe, and they came out with a single themselves called Rap is Crap. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the beginning of the end for WCW. But, Rick Steiner has a match with Sting. I don't know, like, who's good and who's bad anymore. But it's like a no-holds-bar, anything-goes match. They wind up backstage. They take the fight to the back. And Scotty, his brother Scotty is waiting on him with a pair of Rottweilers. And they basically sick the dogs on Sting. And this shit, like, I don't know if these dogs are... It looks like these dogs are really getting at Sting. And then, like, after these 2 dogs are getting on him, Scotty comes back with a bigger Rottweiler. And he's like, yeah.
What the fuck?
Dude, yes. My thoughts exactly, Matt. My thoughts exactly.
I got an even bigger Rottweiler in the back too, Sting.
They're desperate at this point. They know that the Attitude Era is kicking them behind, and there's no turning back, man.
I love that. Well, that is weird, though. Like, yeah, who was the bad guy? Was Rick Steiner in NWO at that point?
they were switching teams. They would go from red and black to white and black, and like I lost track at this point. I'm all Vince now. Pause.
Yeah, hell yeah, 99.
By 99,
Rick, you can't be in the LWO, dude. It's not like that.
yeah, it's all about Stone Cold, Rock, Mankind, Taker, DX at this point, man. But any callbacks, honorable mentions, or takeaways?
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out to Willem Dafoe, who I just think it's like lost in the sauce a little bit in the 90s. But when he was young, he was like, he had so many different, because he played that hero like character in Platoon. He started getting into villainry and stuff. And I almost lost track of Willem Dafoe a little bit, but I love me some Willem Dafoe. I need more Willem Dafoe in my life. You know, I feel like he's gotten some shit. I mean, he's been in a lot of like big movies, but I don't know. I miss him in like being like this weird character he played in Speed 2. Give him a villain role where he just gets to like flex that weird muscle he's got. Pause.
That's
Pause.
like, yeah, no, I caught that, but it's like his niche, man. I prefer him in that role, kind of like I prefer Kurt Hennig as a heel. Like, yeah, you could be a face, but like, man, you're better off doing this type.
It literally is his face. It's so manipulatable and like it's prone to looking evil and weird that it just works. You know, even when he plays like a cop, remember in Boondock Saints, he was like the weird like detective. Even in that, it's bizarre.
And he's not necessarily a bad guy.
No, and not at all.
He's just
weird.
But hey, that he found his thing. Like, you know, it's like, this is my face. And he made something out of it.
Oh yeah, it's like Clint Howard. It's like I mean, he does have the Ron Howard like pedigree, but you're getting him because of the look. And I don't want to say what that look is, but we all know.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What about you?
Man, I will say June 13th in the 90s, it to me might be one of the greatest days, or at least of the summertime days, because you saw greatness. You saw Hogan. It had Jordan winning again, and I always... this was like an imaginary thing in my head. If my favorite team wins in the finals, I'm going to have a good school year the following year. That's what I always thought. Oh, the Bull, Michael won. 5th grade is going to be the shit because Mike won.
Plus.
Yeah, I'm going to get all A's. I'm going to get all the toys. I'm going to get some bitches. The last part never happened, but yeah, June 13th. If not one of the greatest days of the 90s, it's one of the greatest days of my life. And I thank my mom.
Steve. I mean, that's kind of apropos too. It's Austin 316, Steve G 613.
You might be onto something. Yeah, I likes that. I like that. But please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your little sister she ought to know she's a hoe. Please check out Food Show Fanatics with Matt G and Kendra B. And our guy Clark the Shark. Once again, shout out to him for his success with Made in Philadelphia. This is Steve G and Matt G with
Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the flat kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!